Hi, my name is Schyler Church, and I am a California real estate broker, as well as a member of the education department at Accredited Real Estate Schools. We provide those course requirements to be eligible to take that state exam in California, but also a wide array of options when preparing to take that state test. And that state exam is what we're discussing today. I know a lot of people are curious about it, sometimes even fearful of it, and so I want to hopefully give you more information regarding it. And the 7 areas that the state exam in California are based off of and constructed from per the DRE. So let's kind of dive into it. And if you want more information though regarding the specifics of the state exam, I do have other videos regarding the salesperson state exam, the broker state exam, as well as the day of the state exam. So I'll link those below. But today we're just talking about these 7 areas the state has. And so they are Area 1, property ownership and land use controls and regulations, approximately 15%. Area 2, laws of agency and fiduciary duties, approximately 17%. Area 3, property valuation and financial analysis, approximately 14%. And this is just another way of saying appraisal. Area 4, financing, approximately 9%. Area 5, transfer of property, approximately 8%. Area 6, practice of real estate and disclosures, approximately 25%. And Area 7, contracts, approximately 12%. So we're going to dive in and break down the specifics of each of these areas, but also what these weights mean and these percentages. So let's first talk about the percentages so you can understand then how to apply it to the areas. So the state exam for salesperson and broker is a weighted exam. So for salesperson, you have to receive a 70% and broker 75% to pass. Now, the thing to know about it is it's not a straight across the board 70 or 75% of the questions to pass. So salesperson has 150 questions and broker has 200 questions. So that doesn't mean you just need to get, for instance, on broker, it would be 150 of the 200 questions correctly. No. What they're saying here is that the DRE has not released how they do it, but they do say it's a qualitative exam in nature. So there's really 2 options or theories for it. I believe the first one's correct though, where you have to correctly answer enough weighted questions to equal at least 70% or 75 for broker, or you have to pass all of those 7 areas with at least a 70% or 75 in each of those areas. Now, I think the first option is actually the one that the DRE does. So what that means is, let's say there is 150 questions for salesperson. Well, each of the questions can be worth different weights. So for instance, then you would have to answer 70% of weighted questions correctly. So if you're answering questions, they would have to be worth a cumulative total of weight of at least 70%, or broker 75%. And then where do these area topic percentages kind of come into this? Well, the percentages in areas are not exact, they're just approximations. So for instance, when we're talking about area 1, which is, not area 1, area 2, which is agency, that's 17% of the exam. Well, they say 17%. That could be the percentage of questions. So if there's 150 questions, 17% of them could be regarding agency. Or there could be a ton more questions than 17% or a lot less than 17% of the questions, but it could be worth a weighted 17%. So let's say there might only be a few questions regarding agency, but it might weight 17% of the exam, so they may be worth a lot more. So if you don't do well in that area, you might fail the state exam just because of how it's weighted. So this exam is a challenging one. It's difficult, but completely doable as long as you have the right material and you put the time into studying, because the DRE is the only one that knows exactly the specifics to this. It's a huge gray area that no one has really ever been able to find out. They did release years ago that it was indeed a weighted exam. They weren't even telling us that, but we do know it. So it's a qualitative exam, and this is the information we have, and you kind of have to just be proficient in all 7 areas to make sure to give yourself the best chance of passing the state exam. So let's break down these 7 areas. Area 1. Okay, so this is about 15% of the exam, and it's broken down into a bunch of these items here. So it's broken down into classes of property, property characteristics, encumbrances, types of ownership, descriptions of property, government rights in land, public controls, environmental hazards and regulations, private controls, water rights, special categories of land. So as you can see, there's a lot under Area 1. What we do at Accredited, which is very different than pretty much all the other programs, because all we do is specialize in California, is we break down our exam preparation material into these 7 areas. But we take it even a step further by breaking it down into sub areas. So we take Area 1 and we break it down into 3 sub areas: Area 1A, 1B, and 1C. So we have a section just on property ownership, land use controls, and regulations. We have another of just methods of holding title to real property and encumbrances, as well as subdivision, government controls, and construction. So this way we make sure that you understand the material in a very concentrated, focused fashion within the concepts. And then also you make sure you cover all of Area 1. So it's a very thought out way of doing it. And so you want to make sure you cover all 7 areas. Our program is designed specifically into this, but if you're using a different program, make sure you're covering all of these items and making sure you're proficient in them. So for instance, with us at Accredited, we teach you these concepts, but we also have practice questions designed specifically to the sub areas and areas to make sure to see how well you are in applying the conceptual terms. So this is just Area 1. Area 2, 17% of the exam. This is all about agency. So it's a relatively small conceptual area because it's pretty easy to learn. Students usually do well with it because it's easier to grasp to actual stuff that you see in the real world, in the real life. But there is a lot to it, and it's important for the state exam. It's about 17%. So you need to make sure you understand the law, definition, and natures of the agency relationships, types of agencies, creation and termination of agencies with the agreements, responsibilities of an agent to their principal, disclosure of agency, also disclosure when acting as a principal or other interest, commissions, fees, and also responsibilities when you're an agent to other third parties, so that when they're not your principal. So there's a lot to know about here, and that's why it's 17%. Area 3 is appraisal. So it's broken down into value, methods of estimating value, and the financial analysis. We then push this into 2 sub areas, 3A and 3B. So appraisal principles and then the actual practice of the appraisal. So it's talking about the principles of understanding how we come up with value, but also practice of our approaches that we have that appraisers use when estimating value and giving their opinion of value. So that's 14% of the exam. Students usually struggle with appraisal, so make sure to put time into it because you do need to be proficient in it. You can't think you'll be great in all the other areas and pass the state exam without really knowing appraisal. You do need to know it. And that also goes with financing. So financing is a huge section, but it's only 9% of the exam, approximately though. Of course, you might get a version that's heavier in it. You don't really ever know. But there's a lot to it, and we break it down into 4 sub areas. So we take the general concepts of financing, types of loans, sources of financing, government programs, mortgages, deeds of trust, notes, financing, credit laws, loan brokerage, and the types of loan originators. And we put this into 4 sub areas of financing, promissory notes and security devices, types of lenders, secondary mortgage market, and loan disclosures, as well as economics. So this is what there's a lot here. I'll be the first to admit it. And students do struggle with it because there is so much to it. Good news though is as long as you can pretty much understand the material, be able to apply it, hopefully even if you are off on a little bit, it won't affect your overall score too much, but you might get a version that's heavy in finance. So you do really need to know it because it is 9% of the exam. And if you bomb it all, the odds of passing in all the other areas are not going to be well. Okay, area 5, 8% of the exam. So this covers about title insurance, deeds, escrow, tax aspects, special processes, transfer through court supervision, and the types of vesting. So this is quite a bit of information here, and we put it into 3 sub areas of transfer of property, escrow and title insurance, as well as federal, state, and property taxes. So a lot of great info here. It's a small section, but there still is a lot to know about. And all of this, honestly, everything we're talking about is good to know for having a real estate license. So you might not use it on an everyday basis, but it's really good to know. So especially when I'm trying to pass the state test. So this is area 5. Area 6, the catch-all area. It's approximately 25% of the exam. Truthfully, pretty much it's more than that. It's a huge area. It's like an umbrella catch-all category. It talks about trust account management, fair housing and ethics, truth in advertising, record keeping, agency supervision, permitted activities of unlicensees, DRE jurisdiction and disciplinary actions, licensing, CE requirements and procedures, the recovery fund, property management, commercial, industrial, income properties, and specialty areas, as well as the TDS and the natural hazard disclosure statement, and the disclosure of material facts affecting property value. That's a huge one. And need for inspection and obtaining, verifying information and reports, servicing diverse populations. So as you can tell, this is a huge category. It's a catch-all. Everything kind of falls into it. And so it's a huge area, giant area that we cover. So actually our area 6A is huge. We spend a ton of time on it because that is the practice of real estate and disclosures. And then we also talk about fair housing in there, as well as ethics. So this is a huge, huge area you really need to be proficient in. Most people do well on it because it is easier for them to grasp, but there is a lot to know. So make sure to be proficient in all of the areas, but especially this one, especially all of them, truthfully. But area 6 is extremely important. And then area 7, the last one, this is contracts. So approximately 12% of the exam. So this is going to be talking about listing agreements, buyer-broker agreements, offers and purchase contracts, any type of agreement, promissory notes and securities, purchase lease options, advanced fees. So we take all of this and put it into 2 sub areas of contracts and then listings and purchase agreements. So we talk about everything you need to know about it, but in a very focused, concentrated manner. So these are the 7 areas. So if you're not using our program where we do the work for you to put the information in the 7 areas, make sure that you, when we've gone through this, that you feel like everything that we've talked about has been touched in your studies. Very important. That way you can pass that state exam the first time. And just know, we're not affiliated with the Department of Real Estate. We don't cover all stipulations. This is just general information and should not be used as up-to-date or accurate info. So always contact the DRE. I have their website as well as their phone number. Everything that we got regarding the topics was pulled from their website. So make sure to cross-reference and talk to them specifically. But if you have any questions or want to check out our program, feel free to contact us at Accredited and we'll be happy to assist you. I have our information posted here, as well as our website, phone number, and email. And you can call us, email us, anything like that, and we'll be glad to answer any questions. And we also have a ton of exam prep options to help you prepare for that state test that are designed into these 7 areas. But we also provide those courses to be eligible to take the state exam anyway. So thanks for watching and good luck with your licensing journey.